Oh, my freaking God.
We're live, Mac.
I know we are, Jack. I don't know. My board's
Stop talking. Let's get this sports show rolling, Mac. What are we doing? Posing? You're like Jeffcoat was in the line of scrimmage at times, when he takes a play off.
Folks, good morning and welcome to This Week in Sports with Mac, Jack, and Jim Jeffcoat. And first off, let me wish all you mothers out there a happy Mother's Day, whether your mom is still alive or she's passed away. She's still in, of course, still in your thoughts, and our mothers are always in our thoughts. So happy Mother's Day. And let's get to This Week in Sports, guys. First off, we got to take a look at the playoffs. The Lakers and Miami advanced. Lakers beat Golden State 122-101. Their coach has been released because of that exit during that game.
Phoenix, yes.
With Monty Williams.
That's the Nuggets. For the Phoenix Suns.
That was 2 nights ago, those games. Yeah. But the big one today, Mac, is the Sixers.
Well, let me finish, Jack, before you go.
Mac, it's on 2-day-old news already. Let's get today.
I don't care, Jack. Jack, I don't.
Jack, he's going to mute you.
Yes, I will. Anyway, LeBron James had 30 points. Davis had 20 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell with 19 points. And Austin Reeves gets 23 points. And, of course, a few of these players were picked up during the year. They make the Lakers a legitimate championship team, James, don't you think?
Well, here's the thing. And LeBron James is only the second player at 38 years old to score 30 points in a playoff game. But what happens is, first of all, in my opinion, you got the best center at the Denver Nuggets in Jokic. And I think he's the best center in the NBA. And he might be one of the all-time greats. And what's going to give the Lakers problems, and I'm not saying they can't win it, but the problem they're going to have is the size of the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets are a big team. And that's the thing. And it's going to be interesting how Anthony Davis plays Jokic. The problem that Denver has is they can't cancel out LeBron. They were 2-2 during the season. Each of them took 2 games. So this is going to be it's going to be a good series. I look at it going 7. And then the one thing you got to remember, too, is Murray didn't play the last time they played in the championship game, Denver and L.A., and he might be the X factor.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen Curry has 32 points. Clay only has 8. Draymond only has 9. As me and Jack talked about yesterday, the Warriors are going to make some big moves, I think, this offseason to get back to where they were. I don't think Klay Thomas will be around. I don't think I don't think Draymond Green will be around either.
Wow.
I think they're going to have to reestablish their team. What do you?
So do you keep Powell?
That's another one they might.
I mean, you got 120 million tied up in them,
and you sure do. Sure do. They might be stuck with them. What do you think, Jack?
The Klay Thompson situation, that has to eat at the Warrior organization because he came up with them as a young pup, one of the Splash Brothers, along with Steph Curry, future Hall of Fame, I believe, and to just move on from him. But it's a business at the end. I mean, and the thing about it, he had a poor playoff series. That's the bottom line. You have to look forward. You have to look forward with certain players. What are they going to really do for you? And Klay Thompson coming off all those injuries, does he represent the future of the Warriors? They're more likely to stick with an Andrew Wiggins who's healthier, has a little more of a step to him. So I think that's the big change. But where does Klay Thompson go to? Would you do this, guys? Would you trade even up Julius Randle for Klay Thompson if you're the Knicks? Oh, yeah, for the Warriors.
Oh, it doesn't fit. First of all, Jack, I think you're going to keep that core. I think you're going to keep Draymond, Klay. But where their problem is the bench. Their bench is letting them down. They got to get a better bench because they have to take minutes off of those 3. And that's just my opinion on it. And I think you keep him because that's a good core there. You saw what happened with San Antonio when they lost their core, their leader.
But Jordan Poole was disappointing coming off the bench.
Cool. He was very disappointing. And that's my point is that you have to keep your core players because they give you leadership. They might not be able to play as many minutes, but they help you on the team. They just limit their minutes. They got to, limit their minutes. But like I said, look at San Antonio from when they were on top. They did the same thing. And Kerr is a disciple of the coach of San Antonio.
Good morning, Keith. How you doing? Keith from TGI.
Good morning, Keith.
Good. Of course, we're talking about the NBA playoffs. What happened as far as Phoenix goes, losing to the Lakers. Phoenix's coach was let go. The Knicks, on the other hand, and you're laughing about. Why are you laughing, Keith?
I'm thinking about Monty Williams getting fired with the best record in the NBA the last 3 years.
I know.
It's been that way. All the coaches that have been winning have been getting fired. I don't know.
The last 4 NBA championship coaches were fired, and that's not counting Monty Williams, one with the best record.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
It's different. So Thibodeau, is he the next on the chopping block, Keith?
I don't think so. I think Thibodeau will survive. I think there'll be some changes. It's fun. It's funny. Was it yesterday morning or this morning? I was reading an article in the Post about the possibility of Julius Randle being moved. They were comparing it to, and a lot of the audience probably won't remember this, but back in the 60s, they traded Walt Bellamy to bring Dave DeBusschere in here, and they think that type of trade might have to happen. Bellamy was a star, but he wasn't, conducive to what the team wanted to get done eventually, in the long run. And you might see a Randle trade this summer.
But here's a question I ask you, Keith, is and I like Julius Randle.
I do too.
He fit in because he is limited on certain things. He is more of a post-up player from anywhere. He doesn't create.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He tried to create a few times there in Game 6.
Yeah,
it was ugly. It was ugly every time he did.
Well, what I was most disappointed in, and he took full responsibility, was R.J. Barrett. I mean, R.J. Barrett didn't show up in the playoffs except for a couple of games, and and you can't. And listen, you can't have a player that when you get to the playoffs doesn't show up, but maybe 2 out of the six games or 5 games. So, I mean, I would expect that maybe there might be a move on R.J. Barrett, Keith.
It's possible Barrett might be a target as well. You could put the blame on pretty much everybody, and especially Game 6. I mean, everybody shared in the blame here for me. Mm-hmm. Brunson was overplayed, if you will, a little bit sometimes, tried to force things. Everybody did. So there's going to be changes on this team. I'd be shocked if there weren't. And Randle and Barrett would probably be 2 of the main guys to be considered.
What is the matter with these teams in the NBA? Why can't they just run it back? The Knicks had a good season. Why can't we celebrate their season?
Oh, we can't.
They played well in the regular season. They won their first playoff series in ages. Why can't we just celebrate the year that they had rather than complain? Let's move on from Randle. Let's move on to this guy. It's that way with all the teams in the NBA that don't win the championship.
I'm not complaining. I said here last few weeks that the Knicks were playing with house money. They had a good season. They won a playoff series. That's all I cared about. That was enough for me. But it's not enough next year, and you have to consider moves you need to make to get to the next level. That's right. All I'm talking about. I'm not complaining about this year at all. I think they did a great job. I thought Thibodeau did a great job this year.
And then what you talk about R.J. Barrett, I wouldn't trade him. He has too much upside.
Yeah.
He's going to get better.
I've said that forever.
You're going to look back and say, I wish – and good morning, Rick. But I just think Barrett has too much upside to trade.
Yeah.
No one mentions Emmanuel Quickly being out. Maybe he would have been a difference maker. The Knicks have a big decision to make on Quickly. Do they give him the big money or not?
Nobody does mention
that. there's a few big decisions to be made, and he might have made a difference here. It's hard to, what if?
Well, I mean, if Randall wasn't hurt, there's a lot of ifs.
No, that's what I say. There's ifs all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Randall
did make second team All NBA.
Randall was third team NBA.
13.
If Randall was hurt, and we don't know how hurt he was, but the feeling is that he was, would they have been a lot better off had Thibodeau went to Obi Toppin, who would have brought all that energy?
But is he a good enough scorer with Toppin?
Toppin's a good enough scorer. Is he a good enough defender? That's the question.
And what about the defense you give up with Toppin in their super minutes, too?
And there's another young guy. Toppin was in his second,
but Keith, if Toppin hasn't learned to play defense by now, he's never going to learn.
He hasn't.
There's a lot of players that play in the NBA today that can't play defense.
That's also a good point.
Evan Fournier, you haven't heard nothing about Evan Fournier.
That is true.
He didn't play at all.
He and the podcast every night, Mac, did not play.
Yes.
You got a good point.
Yeah,
he had the witness protection program a few months ago for sure.
I would imagine that he's gone next year also. They're not going to.
Oh, he will not. We got to find a taker for his contract. That's the only problem, and maybe they'll have to eat part of it or something. I don't know how that works in the NBA. I know it works in Major League Baseball, but
right. And a good segue, Keith. So let's talk about the Yankees. Bats come alive. Judge hits a couple home runs. Rizzo hits a home run. Volpe hits a home run. Drives in a run with a single, and the Yankees beat Tampa Bay. Jim seems to think they'll catch Tampa Bay. I'm not that optimistic, unless Tampa Bay just falls apart, which is anything's possible in baseball.
But you got to look at it, Mac. What I was saying, Keith, is that in the last 10 games, the Yankees are 7-3.
Yep.
Both series that they played against Tampa Bay, they have beaten them. If the Yankees can stay healthy, they got a chance to catch them. They're 7 games out, I think.
I think, Jim, if the Yankees can get healthy, their pitching staff, rather than stay healthy,
Jack's point is, if they don't have Severino and Rondon soon, then they're probably not going to catch Tampa, and they're going to be looking at a wild card. But it could happen. Listen, Tampa's not going to play this good all year. And a lot of you got to beat the teams that are on your schedule when they're on their schedule. But a lot of this fast start is built off of some of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. So, that's what happened with the Texas Rangers. But the Texas Rangers are going to get tested on Monday. They play Atlanta.
Yeah.
They play them in Texas, but still, we'll find out how good they are.
Rizzo did come alive. He also did hit a couple homers too, or a home run, whatever. But Rizzo's been playing really well.
Rizzo played well Friday night too. Yeah, he's had a couple of good games in a row.
Yes. So
maybe he heard us talking about him or something.
Rizzo's good. What's the surprise here? It's expected of Rizzo.
Rizzo brings a lot. Rizzo brings a lot to this team. Even when he's not hitting, he's contributing because he's a leader. He's a captain of that infield, and he's an important cog of this team. So I love that guy.
Yes. A lot more than Doc does. Dr. Paul has his qualms with Rizzo. Him and Jack have been going at it recently about how good Rizzo really
I said Rizzo was one of the top 5 first basemen in baseball, and Doc argued maybe not top 10. Then he says maybe number 8. Now he's willing to maybe go down to number 6, maybe.
Well,
I'd have to look at the list. I don't know that I could get him in the top 5 either, but he means more to this team than he might mean to some other team, too.
There you go. That's part of it. Part of it.
There you go. So Tom Brady is going back to the Patriots, Jim, for a ceremony on opening day. I'm still not sure what the ceremony is going to consist of. I don't know if they're going to put him up on the wall there, if they're going to have big highlights, fireworks. I don't know what's going on.
I would.
Yeah. So Brady,
he might be the greatest player in the history of the Patriots, and that's arguable. But I think he was the greatest player ever for the Patriots.
Quarterback, player, no.
Mac, let me ask everyone this: do you think in the back of Robert Kraft's mind in the back of his mind, look, we're gonna honor him. I love Tom Brady. He's like a son to me. But if he makes a comeback, I want it to be with us.
Well, I'm hoping the ceremony is they're unveiling him as a starting quarterback.
He's the co-owner. He's going to be the co-owner of the Raiders.
Yeah, I know.
Wait. Can he play for the Patriots and have a small stake in the Raiders?
No, you can't do that. No, I was only joking. He's not going to be the starting quarterback. We know that. I think he'll go up in their Ring of Honor. I hope they're going to retire as number 12. And I will tell you, he is the best player in the history of the franchise. There's only one guy that even approaches him, and that's John Hanna. Nobody
you don't think of guys like Gino Capoletti?
Tell me who can you really say that had this much impact on that?
I could say a lot of players. I mean, you're talking quarterback. What?
Give me some names and I'll shoot them down.
You guys had a couple good middle linebackers. You had a pretty good defensive end. Few good tight ends.
None of them had the impact that this guy had on the.
This guy's had a
quarterback. Of course, he's going to have the impact.
John Hanna and Tom Brady are head and shoulders above everybody, and I love Andre Tippett. I love these guys.
Listen,
they don't hold a candle to these two guys.
The quarterback is player dependent like no other position in the NFL. All right, they depend on the offensive line. They depend on the wide receivers. They depend on the running back.
Whoa!
Do you know who Tom Brady won his first championship with a wide receiver?
That's what I'm saying. He made that.
Yeah. It was that number 80 guy that played punt, return punt.
Troy Brown's a great player. He's by no means one of the best wide receivers ever to play in the NFL.
Did I say that?
David Patton was the other wide receiver. He won a championship with those two
guys. Did I say he was? In fact, I think Adam Vinatieri was a lot more important than Tom Brady back in the day. How's that?
I would agree with that. At that time.
That's what I said.
Oh my goodness!
And I think
I can't believe you said that.
And I can't believe. Damn it! If it wasn't for Vinatieri, they wouldn't have won those Super Bowls early on. Would they have?
Well, if you listen to Raider fans, they wouldn't have won the first Super Bowl without
the Snow Bowl.
and Frank, stick to boxing, would you please? Because you don't have no idea about football.
I love you.
I got to speak to you later, Frank. We didn't even prepare for the show. It's on my back. I mean,
listen. I think Frank brings a lot to the show. Leave him alone.
I do too.
Yeah, as long as he's agreeing with you. Listen,
now he doesn't like.
Are you going to say
now? I thought Pax was the only one he didn't like.
Are you going to say that Tom Brady, without a pretty good tight end there back in the day, that followed him at Tampa Bay, would have been as effective?
He won a lot of Super Bowls without Gronkowski on the team.
Yes, he did.
I'm just saying.
He won
3 Super Bowls in 4 years without Gronk.
You're saying the greatest player in New England Patriot history,
without a doubt.
Yes,
no,
I could say that without any doubt. I said I might put him 1 and 1A with John Hanna because John Hanna was one of the best offensive linemen ever to play in the NFL.
I would agree, but here's the thing: Hanna never won a Super Bowl.
Good point. Well, lost one badly, but
yeah, he did with Tony Eason as the quarterback.
Yeah.
But you're right. But Brady,
Jim, I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
Sour grapes on his spot. Sour grapes because Tony Eason was drafted ahead of Jim. So
I love Tony. I think he's a great player.
I was a big Tony Eason fan.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I'm shocked at all three of you. I really am. So Jared Mayo was a pretty good Patriot player too. Has turned down head coach interviews to play with the Patriots or coach with the Patriots at least for the next 3 years, working with the defense again. Again, one of the better players in Patriots history, Keith.
I would agree with you. Not the level of the guys we just talked about.
We're great players. We're just saying that Tom Brady was the greatest, which is true.
Well, we kind of have to drop that, but it's making me think you mentioned Gerard Mayo, the 3-year deal. Now, Bill Belichick's around 70 years old. I don't know what type
And we won
of
this year.
I don't know what type of shape he keeps himself in, but isn't that physically tough a coach to be on his feet and practice all the time, back and forth, if he wants to do the job the right way?
But Jack, how old are you?
I'm there. I'm close. I'm not 70 yet. I'm getting there.
But here's the
I'm
point.
around the corner.
Is you do marathons. You still walk and you still
I
do
still
your
run. I still do. No,
So-
but I got the time to do that. I'm not in the
Belichick has
film room.
time.
I'm not
He's the
working
head coach.
14-hour days.
He gets on the treadmill, probably elliptical.
I've seen him on a treadmill with donuts and coffee, and I think
You got to work for him. You got to work for him.
Pete Carroll's up there too, and he looks like he still has a lot of energy.
Yeah, no, but
he's the
if they do that,
NFL, Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
but they've got to put the time in to stay in shape if you're going to coach. You have to.
Yeah, but you got
go
to
through the
think about it
physical
too.
rigors.
Yeah. You got to think about it, Jack. As being a head coach, they have different responsibility than position coaches. So they have that time. While they're in the meetings, they could be working out, if that makes sense.
Belichick's going to end up in one of those golf carts going around at the field.
I don't
eventually.
think so.
Yeah,
He might.
I heard Belichick loves lacrosse. There's a little rumor that he could be commissioner of the league or something if he retires.
Listen, yeah, I think he'll be on the sidelines. It'll look like Weekend at Bernie's. There'll be two guys holding him up on the sideline. He'll
You
still
guys
be.
realize there was serious talk about Vince Lombardi becoming commissioner of baseball before he passed, after he stepped down as Packer coach, and he would have taken that position. He kept saying the way he loved baseball. It never quite worked out, but the owners of baseball were discussing the idea of Lombardi taking over as their commissioner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Hey Keith, let's do a little NFL news while you're here. The Browns traded for three-time Pro Bowler Zadarius Smith. I think it's for a 2024 and 2025 fifth-round pick. And I mean, they already got a pretty good defensive line here. This just adds to their depth that they have over there, Keith. So, good move by Cleveland.
With that move, yes. I mean, I'm still not a believer in the Browns. I just think I don't think that this whole team is sold in on their quarterback, and I just think there's still some issues internally there. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think John Watson's going to have a heck of a year first.
yeah.
I think their defense, the Darius Smith, but the only problem I have with him, he's been in 3 teams in 3 years. There's a red flag.
But it's more than that, Jim, and you should know, by the Browns getting Smith, it helps Myles Garrett, maybe,
Yes.
take some pressure off him
Yes,
and allow
I
him
would
to
agree.
get
I
it.
would agree 100%. And I understand, and I question the Browns like you do, Keith, but I think that Deshaun Watson's going to have a heck of a year.
That's possible. That's possible.
You got to remember, he didn't really have an offseason last year. He
Yeah.
came in what? In the middle of the year. So
Deshaun Watson is the
Rick makes a good
forgotten
point, too.
man. He's the forgotten guy, Deshaun Watson, amongst NFL quarterbacks. We talk about the best quarterbacks in the NFL. For some reason, no one's mentioning Deshaun Watson's name anymore. To me, if Deshaun Watson's in form, you could argue he's a top 5 quarterback.
You know who's mentioned his name is every agent that goes in to negotiate a contract for
That's true. But he is also taking his whole receiving and running back staff to Puerto Rico to train.
Well, that's what all quarterbacks do.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, but your quarterback takes him to Eastern Shores of Maryland.
I take him nowhere. I mean, come on, Mac's old school. He could tell you they'll be partying there. Yeah, they'll be buddies, this and that. You got to have the full football concentration at all times.
Yeah, but you're away from everything too, Jack. Sometimes Dak Prescott does that. Jalen Hurts does that. They take them places. Obviously, all the quarterbacks do that now.
Of course, except some aren't, like Jack said, taking them on boat cruises with, Puerto Rican women and stuff like that. So,
I'd be a little worried about going on vacation with Deshaun Watson. That's all I'm saying.
That's a good point. That's a good
You
point.
get good massages.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft can speak to that point too. So.
Come on, guys. I mean, all these digs at these guys. Come on.
Wait a minute. I'm not taking digs at Robert Kraft. He did nothing illegal that I can see. Well, maybe it was illegal, but
Rick says Jackson.
there was nothing non-consensual in what happened with Robert Kraft.
Come on.
Well, the tape has different kinds of voids in them, so I don't know what happened.
Well, that's because the Nixon White House people were.
Yeah, they were.
You know the story with I mentioned Vince Lombardi before. Max McGee went out the night before and he fined him $5,000 and said in front of the whole team, and he says, if she was worth $5,000, then let me know, because next time I'm going to go with you.
Wow.
And he had a great game. He didn't expect to play that day, if I remember right, and he had a great game.
Game. Yes, Super Bowl one. Yeah, it came with a hangover, man.
Yeah.
So Jack's quarterback takes them to a cave. I guess that's what Rick is talking
No,
about.
the quarterback should be concerned with his offensive linemen. You want those guys. They have your back. They got a block for you. Could you ever imagine a case like this? An offensive lineman, let's say, Jim may have experienced this. Let's say he hates a quarterback. The quarterback's been abusive towards his offensive lineman for a long time. The offensive lineman is a very good player, but he decides, I'm going to take a play off. I hate this SOB who's my quarterback. And he allows the pass rusher to get through and have a clean shot just one time.
But I know what you're saying, Jack. But
not to have
if
happened.
you think about this in this way, is that if that quarterback gets hit and gets hurt, that hurts the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
That hurts him because you're getting probably a less quarterback in that position, and you can complain all you want, but most quarterbacks are usually, I know because you're saying it's because of the Jets quarterback, but most quarterbacks and offensive linemen are close.
Yeah,
the good ones.
I would think so. They do take care of their offensive line when they take them out to dinner or whatever.
Well, Peyton Manning was telling his center Jeff Saturday to shut up.
That's just a part of the game.
Yeah, Tom Brady yelled at all his guys too.
Yeah. There you go.
No big deal. I know it. I know you're sensitive about getting yelled at, Jack. But
oh Lord! Oh my God! I don't know where the heck we went with this stuff here. I want your opinion on a serious note, Keith. I want your opinion on what has happened to the Buffalo Bills punter. We'll probably touch on this with everybody. Yeah. He's cut. He wasn't there. The video shows it. I mean, do you think there's any responsibility the Bills or the NFL has towards this guy? I mean, do you think they should come through and do something for him?
It's hard. I mean, anytime something like this happens and you're exonerated, I mean, the first question you ask is, who do I see to get my reputation back, right? Because it's gone forever in a way. But every team, I wouldn't blame the Bills because I think every team would have done exactly what they did because of
severity
the severity of the charges and the propensity to be concerned about any violence towards women in general in society, much less the NFL. And should they do something? I don't think they're obligated to. He'll probably get a chance. He'll probably play in the league now. But he's lost 2 years of his life and his career, and it's not cool. I cannot believe it took this long for this to come out because it wasn't just the fact he wasn't there. The way I read the story as a prosecutor, you say we can't prosecute anybody in this case because we watched the video and this girl was very engaged in everything that was going on.
And they wanted to settle a civil suit with him for $50,000. And he's refusing to pay it. And like I mentioned yesterday on the show, an attorney advised him, pay the $50,000, make it just go away because he's going to have to pay $50,000 at least in attorney's fees.
Yeah, and Rick's right. And Rick's right. He was there but left. But my point is, he wasn't there when
right. And it's sad, but I understand. Well, we talked about this before the show, and it's unfortunate. But what do you do? Like you said, it's violence against women, and you
Well,
got
one thing that I'm worried about is any team that takes them. There's going to be protests. You know, that's what I'm worried about. You're taking on a person who did this or was rumored to do this or whatever. So teams will be taking a chance on picking him up.
Yeah, but he was exonerated. Think about this, and you can put it into the Deshaun Watson situation. People took a chance on him, and maybe you don't, but he's only a punter, and you take the brunt of it because he was exonerated. He was not there.
Yeah.
Guys, if O.J. Simpson was a young man at his peak and what happened, and he was exonerated in a court of law, I don't think any team would take him on, even though he's a
no, but he had the civil suit though. That's the problem.
Definitely different situations though too. I mean, so
how you doing, Robert? Glad to see you.
Hey, morning, guys.
Remember,
Robert, hello to Keith. You guys never get to talk.
we talk every.
Yeah, I'll bring him on my program.
So. All right. Hey, one difference with OJ is remember he was found not guilty, not innocent. So there's
That's
that
true.
So, there you go. Is true, right, Keith. Everybody check out TGI Sports on his page and on Northeast Streaming Sports. Keith, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Have a great Mother's Day to all your wives and mothers.
Thank you, Keith. Take care. So there you go, folks. Keith with TGI Sports. Robert Butler comes in. Keith leaves. That's how it works on this show anyway. Mm-hmm. Robert, you come in. We were talking about, we'll get this out of the way. Like I said, I'm going to get everybody's opinion on this because it's one of the biggest stories out there. The punter from Buffalo. He's exonerated, as Jim says. He'll probably get a chance to play, like Keith says. He's lost 2 years of his life, like Jack says. I think that when you start taking action before you're found guilty is when all these problems start.
Yeah. The NFL they have been notorious for doing this, particularly Roger Goodell. Now he's eased back on that over the last few years. I guess the media, the Bills were just reading what was out there in the media, and they wanted to act on this. And I mean, it's been a topic on other shows. Not really. I haven't really dug into it on my show. I know what happened, and you hope the guy gets another opportunity. I mean, he wasn't even there present. He left the party before anything happened. It's not like, well, actually, we found out some kind of DNA test. No, it was nothing like that. So you just wonder if maybe he countersues some of these allegations. If he feels so coming to it, he's not going to get this money back, Yeah.
But can he sue the NFL because he was exonerated?
No.
Guys,
he would have
to say if it was you, Matt, and somebody said you did something.
And you have to sue that person.
You doing it.
You would have to sue that person. You'd have to sue the person that accused you. But how would that look? In the public forum, him suing somebody that, she says this happened to her, that wouldn't go over so big. You know what I'm saying?
The father went on the CBS show, I can't recall the name of it, and said these accusations, which now we know were a lie.
Yeah.
But guys, keep this in mind. Matt Ariza was a 6th round draft choice, meaning there's a reasonable chance he wouldn't have made the team. I think he would have because kickers are taken in the later rounds of a draft where a team intends to keep them. But a 6th round draft choice is expendable. If he was a 3rd or 4th round draft selection, he's very probably making the team. Then he has a better case.
I don't know. I as you said though, Jack, normally kickers and punters come on tryouts. If they're going to replace a punter, they actually don't draft them. So I think he would have made the team. I think he had a real good chance.
6th round, because he's a punter, I kind of feel he would have, but you can't be sure.
What did they call him? Robo-punter?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, Jim. Something like that.
He'll get a job.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Mac is the most old school guy I know. As a coach, he'd say, "Give me another kicker." A guy would miss a field goal. Mac will cut him. "Get me another kicker." He'll order the staff and I'll bring him in. Mac is old school all the way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At least he doesn't have his quarterback training his receivers in the cave, Jack.
Yeah. So Robert,
Yeah.
the NFL, the flex scheduling, they give control to CBS and Fox. It's more power to protect games from NBC and ESPN for taking one of their glamour matchup.
Yeah.
So it means that NBC and ESPN won't get all the best games flexed into prime time like they did in the past.
Right. Yeah. It's at least one game a week. And I really like that. Somebody who's a day person like myself, these games, guys, I mean, they go over pretty late on Sunday night, Monday night, at 4:25. You know, the Dallas games are going to get protected more now, Jim.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Jim.
So I think it's a great idea. I wish they would have thought of this earlier. There's not a shortage. This league is so competitive. I don't think they're going to be stuck with the teams that are picking 1 and 2 in the draft. It's not going to be the end of the world for NBC and ESPN, if you ask me.
And I tell you guys, there's so many storylines. If I asked you guys to pick the worst possible game and put it on prime time to start the year, it's hard to pick a bad game. Even if I gave you, for example, Arizona against the Chicago Bears, the storyline could be Kyler Murray and Justin Fields. So even if you give them a terrible game, you know, it has a degree of interest.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess. I mean, I think maybe the Falcons against maybe
Tampa.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would
that's bad.
Falcons.
That's
The
bad.
Falcons have done some really nice moves.
Yeah, they're going to have a good running game. We know for sure.
Well, they'll have a good passing game, even with Ritter, because they've done some nice things.
That remains to be seen, Jim. Let's not.
I'm telling you, they're going to shock some people.
Yeah,
They're one of my surprise teams.
They'll shock me if they win more than 4 games.
Well, now they've been 7-10 the last couple of years. So maybe they might repeat that again.
They do have the easiest schedule, though. I did read that the other
point.
day. Yeah, 32nd easiest schedule in the league. The Falcons.
They're going to shock some people.
Yeah. Yes. The fans, you know how the fans attend, a lot of the workouts in spring, and they were shocked to see how small Bryce Young really was. He didn't have his pads on, but even with the pads, I mean, that's a little guy in a big man's game. So, I mean, what are your impressions of Bryce Young? We've talked about this before, Robert. I think he's going to get hurt. I think he's going to, you get these big guys, 350 running 4.4s or 4.5s, hit him full speed. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. And he has been injured in college before. So what are your thoughts on Bryce Young this year?
Yeah, this year, I mean, he may be the most accurate quarterback and all that stuff. That is true. I have no doubts about that. I watched enough of their games. But my thing is, I think you're really going to have to invest into a backup quarterback, somebody that you think is going to play 4 or 5 games. Guys, you remember when the Saints a few years ago, they gave Teddy Bridgewater a lot of money because Breeze was getting older. Well, he actually did well. Was he 3-1 when Breeze was out? So,
wait, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. Andy Dalton's their backup now.
Yeah. So Dalton's not a bad backup. He's not ideal, but he's a little long in the tooth, and but he's a fair backup. He was a starter for 8 or 9 years with the Bengals. So that's something they're going to have to. They got a good defense up there.
Who's going to start the season as their QB? Andy Dalton or Bryce Young? Is Bryce Young carrying a clipboard for a while or what?
No.
Probably week 1 he plays. I think that's the idea with the guy like
that. But here's also what you got to think is with Young is that he played at Alabama. He played at one of the you look at Alabama and the people they play. I mean, he's been at the highest level.
Yeah.
And he's made it. And there's always that possibility, but that's a possibility. I don't care if you're the biggest. Hey, all the quarterbacks have that, opportunity. They have that chance of getting injured. I think Bryce Young will be fine.
But some quarterbacks, Jim, are more likely to get injured because of their size because of their team. I mean, this ain't the best team that he went to. He's going first round of the Panthers because
the Panthers almost made the playoffs last year.
They almost did. They almost did.
That's what I'm saying. The Panthers are not that bad team.
And Robert, and as Robert said, they do got a good defense.
Yes, and a good running game.
I'm just nervous about Bryce Young and his size. I've said
I think he'll be fine because he's not. He can, but Kyler Murray's problem is he was out of the pocket a lot. When he got injured, he was running. Bryce Young is a more accurate quarterback, like Robert said, and he'll play within that pocket. He can move around and make plays, but he'll be more detailed in where he plays. He'll be similar to, I'm not saying he is, but Tom Brady. He's going to find his receivers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask this question in a different way than I wanted to. Now we know the Commanders team is for sale. Looks like Josh Harris Group is gonna get the team. Does Daniel Snyder deserve $6 billion for everything he's done to the team, to the NFL? I mean, this guy has all kinds of things swirling around him. He might go to jail. They're investigating him, and he gets $6 million, Robert. How is that even possible or fair in any way?
Well, I wouldn't want to strip the guy's team away from him. I don't know about. I mean, as far as money wise, but hey, it just goes to show you how valuable these organizations are. Where he's came, I don't even think he paid way less than $1 billion.
Yes, he did. It was like $880 million.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was just 20 years ago. Doesn't seem that long to me. 1999, it just doesn't feel that long ago. I'm glad. I'm sure the Commanders are just the fans are having a sign of relief. They were falling in national popularity. You guys, they were right there with your Cowboys at one time.
Yeah, long time. And the problem you also have is, just like you said, he's probably going to get some federal charges. We all know that. But he did take that organization in the wrong direction. Yeah. And you say $6 billion, but like you said, 20 years. And the market dictated what he got for it. Yeah. And that's really what I think.
I would imagine that, they've got to build a new stadium there. The old stadium's falling apart. They've got a lot of work to do, as far as the field. The locker room, I heard, wasn't the best. Who do you think is going to be responsible for that? Do you think the new owners, or do you think they're going to work out something with DC area there, Robert?
They'll probably, like here in Nashville, they'll probably do like the DC folks will probably pick up maybe a third of it, maybe a little bit less. They'll do the PSL thing, permanent seat license, and then the new owners, they're going to have to get some more money out of the 76ers and pony up the rest of it themselves.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, I got a question for you. FedEx Stadium is not that old, is it?
It doesn't look that bad to me. I mean, you guys want to see a bad stadium, look at Neyland Stadium in college football, 100-something thousand. It's embarrassing. Okay. Such a good, proud franchise up there, but that's college football, So these renovations could be expensive, though.
They sure
I think when push comes to shove, as far as the Washington Commanders go, Eric Bieniemy is the big story there. People are tired of talking about Daniel Snyder. It's going to work itself out. He's on the way out. Is Eric Bieniemy, if he can get that offense rolling, with Sam Howell, who's essentially a rookie quarterback, it's going to really reflect well on him. And then Bieniemy has got to get a head coaching job somewhere if he could boost the Washington offense. I know he has these off-the-field issues that Jim is very familiar with that we're going to keep in-house kind of here. It's a sensitive thing. But how do you prevent Eric Bieniemy from getting a head coaching job? It's going to be all over the news constantly.
I don't think they can. I don't see how they couldn't have some success with those skill players, with the offensive line, the defensive line. It seems that, not unless Howell's terrible. We've seen one game of him, but the way Ron Rivera sounds, they must see something really good in practice there.
Do you trade Trace Young before the season?
Trey Young?
Chase.
Chase Young. I know that's been talked about. They're not picked up his 5th-year option.
I know. That's why.
That's a possibility. You know, Bill Belichick, he traded a defensive end a week before the season started, guys. He traded him to the Raiders. That guy was so ticked off. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
We could see something like that, Jim.
With someone, unless he's really hurt. They didn't want to invest in him because he's coming off the injury.
Yeah.
But Chase Young, it could have a major impact.
Yeah, but the rumor is that Chicago's trying to get Chase Young.
Oh, wow. Man. Well, they definitely got the money still.
Yeah.
Ron Poles did a great job up there in
he has. Yeah.
In Chicago, guys.
So we talked to Keith about it. You know, Tom Brady's finally getting his ceremony. I wonder how Bill Belichick is feeling about all this right now. They rumored they buried the hatchet. Of course, we know he tried to get rid of him when Garoppolo was there. A lot of bad feelings between him and Belichick for a long time. I guess he just congratulates him, and then maybe that's it. I don't know, Robert. What do you think happens with that?
Yeah, you know how Bill Belichick is. He's a pretty cold, but you know him and Bill Parcells made it right. There was some real beef there, Jim. You remember that? Was you on that team?
No, I wasn't. I was coaching, and we were playing them.
Yeah, coaching Dallas. What meant?
Yeah, coaching. When I was coaching for Parcells, they didn't even. Belichick wouldn't even shake his hand at the end.
Right. I watched that game on TV, man. And
No, I think in the beginning of the game, no, Jim, I think at the end of the game, they ran across and
no, they did not. I was there.
They didn't. That was another game they were against one another where Belichick was on the sidelines and Parcells was at midfield before the game, and Belichick wouldn't come out.
Yeah, he wouldn't come out before the game and after the game.
Right.
They didn't shake hands. He walked right by him.
But they did do the Two Bills documentary together, and
they did at the end.
Eventually.
But here's the problem is, and I told Mac this before, Parcells never won a Super Bowl without Belichick.
Right.
So, and you could say the same thing. Belichick never won a Super Bowl.
I don't go for that talk. It's a team game. Come on, it's all. You know, that's what I hate about Jim's attitude, guys. Listen, this is what I hate about Jim's attitude. He talks about his Cowboy teams, and he says, "Well, Barry Switzer won the Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's team." But he doesn't say when Barry Switzer lost in the playoffs, Jim's last year with the Cowboys, he doesn't say he lost with Jimmy Johnson's team.
He did.
He wins with Jimmy Johnson's team, but he doesn't lose with Jimmy Johnson's team.
He lost with Jimmy. He lost with Jimmy Johnson's team.
Okay, now you're saying it. Okay, so it's not
30
Barry
years.
Switzer's
Finally acknowledge that.
You don't want to give him the
1994.
credit, but you give him the blame. Come on.
You know, back to Parcells and Belichick for a minute, because you're talking about two of the greatest coaches in the history of football. That was all because of what happened with the Patriots and the Jets. How Parcells was calling the Jets about leaving while the Patriots were just getting the week of the Super Bowl, and Belichick blames Parcells for not being into the game and you know, taking care of business. And when he left, he took some of Parcells' coaches too. Some of the other coaches didn't like what he did either. So that was a long time before they got back together again.
Yes,
and
that's true.
You know, and so anyway, a little NBA. The Lakers become the first team. Is it in history or the second team in history with that big of a turnaround during the regular season when they go from under 500 to, you know, being an NBA championship? The Western Championship Finals. Robert, what do you got on that?
Well, it tells you how bad things were with Westbrook. Now, remember, Westbrook was LeBron's guy. LeBron pressed for Westbrook. That's been out there. It's highly that is well noted of that. And you know, Rob Pelinka, man, getting this Raul guy from Washington, and who's it? Jared Vanderbilt. Sometimes you just need role players. You just need role players. And, you know, I don't think they're going to beat Denver. But you look at the Westbrook, you look at the role players, it still goes to show you still need some level of chemistry. You can't just put a bunch of superstars there and just that don't fit, a bunch of squares and round holes. That is a prime example of that, more than anything, because a lot of these guys never done anything anywhere else. Rowe or I knew who Vanderbilt was. He's a really good defender. So
Durant going to the Phoenix Suns, right?
Yeah. You still need a bench and some role players, and they've got that. So it's a great story.
A lot of people don't talk about the coaching job. I know a lot of people think LeBron
Ham is playing really good defense.
He's really done a great job with the Lakers, turning that around.
But isn't that how Ham made the NBA? Is defense, correct?
Yeah. He prided himself on defense, and it's good to have a coach that can communicate like that and get players to play. They play really good defense, and Golden State's they're whining to the league about how good defense they're playing. Mm-hmm. They're sending all these plays. This is illegal. That's illegal. No, I mean, we all know that even nowadays that the refs let them play a little bit more in the playoffs. And I'm glad the league didn't take those accounts serious that Golden State were alleging of. But
the Lakers, I would have to agree. This is going to be a tough series. I said it's going 7, but the length of the Nuggets is unusual. And they did play without the last time they played was in the pandemic era.
Bubble,
The bubble. And they beat them. The Lakers beat them. But the problem was DeAndre Murray wasn't there. And he might be the X factor.
And Jamal Murray, Murray wasn't there. I don't think they had Aaron Gordon. This team has home court. Look, the Lakers, they're 7th seed. They've played 13 games. You feel like it's going to catch up with them eventually, playing this 1 seed.
I would say that, but I don't think so. I think the way the Lakers play is they don't play a full-out game, a speed up and down the court. They slow the game down. And play. So I think I think the length is the problem you have, because the Nuggets have a lot of length.
Well, especially with the Joker there, and man, he is a great passer, ain't he? God,
yes,
he's got eyes in the back. He can throw across the court. He's like Josh Allen out there in football.
Yeah, I'm gonna love watching him and Anthony Davis go at it, because that's gonna be something.
Jack, you're muted. You're muted, buddy.
Thank you, Mac. I think it's the X factor, the altitude of Denver.
Yes.
That could play a big part in this series. I mean, I could see Anthony Davis running up and down the court, his mouth open at a certain point where Jokic, is used to it.
But you know what, Jack, to be honest with you, is some people do have problems with that altitude, but I played there and never had an issue with it. I was there this Friday watching my daughter graduate, and I got out and I always do some cardio. And really, there's certain players do have issues with it, but the majority of them don't, because you're there for such a short period of time.
The 2 days helped the Lakers too. I wish it would have been today. That would have really hurt the Lakers with the travel.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
What do you think about on the other team, the Warriors? What kind of moves do they got to move? Moves do they have to make, Robert, to get back to where they were, a championship type team?
They may move Klay Thompson. They may do something with Green and Thompson because of their age. Jordan Poole's not really fitting in. You look at Wiggins, the way Wiggins has done fine other than that leave of absence, but that was a personal thing. That wasn't Looney. Looney is a good piece there. Green, Poole, Klay Thompson, particularly Klay. That's the thing. They're 6th seed guys. Your main player is 35. I picked the Lakers in 6. People think, well, I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just being a realist about the key players with the Warriors. They melted in on the road during the regular season because they've got miles on them, guys.
But let me ask you this question. That's not much different than the Lakers, correct? With your main player being
like you
38.
said. Well, the Lakers, I've noticed that LeBron paces himself. His minutes aren't what they are. And you're holding your breath with Anthony Davis. Yeah. And a lot of those other players are young, though. I mean, Schroeder's young and, Reeves and everybody, they're really young. They just fit well together.
Reeves is what?
Yeah. Hillbilly Kobe is his nickname. I had a feeling he was going to have a good game in Game 6. He's from rural Arkansas. He doesn't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Robert, a little off topic because I set you certain questions.
Yeah, I got you.
Ronnie James, does he stay at USC 4 years, or does he do what a lot of the other college stars are doing? Does he do a one and done or a two and done? What do you think happens with him?
Yeah. LeBron's talking about playing with his son, but I kind of joked maybe LeBron does pull the Udonis Haslem and plays more of a bench role, and he's there at 42, 43, and Bronny does stay a few years. Deep down, I think LeBron wants his son to play. I just kind of got maybe just stay because if he's happy there and he's getting developed and dad's right there, it's not like USC is here on the East Coast. It's right there in LA. So right. I got a feeling maybe he stays a few years to get his draft eligibility.
LeBron wants to play with his son, and according to what I hear, Bronny James might be NBA ready in 1 year.
Okay.
1 year. It might be 1 year and done. I wonder, does Bronny James feel a little bit fresh, even though LeBron's going to want his son to do what he wants? LeBron badly wants to play with his son. What happens, you're right, if his son decides, I want 4 years of college, he has money, he's financially secure, he has his own money even.
His NIL money, I think, too,
family money, he's secure, he's not like a normal college kid. And if he loves the college life, 4 years by some chance, doesn't want to leave, they can, imagine they win a national championship and he's all giddy and just gets a girlfriend there and the whole bit. Right. I mean, you never know. But I'll say this, when he comes out of the draft, let's say he'd normally go 7th or 8th. Can you imagine a team leaping all the way up, picking him at 1 or 2 because they know they're going to get LeBron? Because LeBron is structuring his contract where he could leave to go elsewhere.
Yeah. What if Orlando takes him,
Imagine the Toronto Raptors. LeBron leaves LA and is going to Toronto, to join Bronny.
He's a billionaire. He can do what he wants.
Can you imagine he comes to the Knicks? What would be bigger, LeBron coming to the Knicks or Aaron Rodgers to the Jets?
Wow.
Well,
I don't know. LeBron's long in the tooth, man. I don't know.
I know
Aaron Rodgers was, according to Mac, was long in the tooth, and no one agrees.
Quarterback, you're sitting in one place, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I know who the big story for Jack would be his boy Aaron Rodgers. Now he has a poster in his bedroom instead of in the living room.
Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers at the Knicks games watching LeBron? The scene that's going to be. I mean,
that'd be
Garden will be a fun place.
Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers trying to get LeBron some of those magic mushrooms?
Yeah. That'd be everywhere. I'd be all over page 6.
Yes. Robert, we got about 3.5 minutes. You got any other stories that you want?
Phoenix, they fired Monty Williams. They're interested in Ty Lue. Ty Lue's apparently not happy. How can he be with the Kawhi Leonard situation and with the Clippers there? The NBA, they just don't have a lot of patience, man. Got new ownership there. Nick Nurse is out at Toronto. Budenholzer. It's probably going to be some adjustments of coaches. They'll probably all get jobs.
Wait, Rob. Monty Williams was coach of the year or 2 ago. Named coach of the year. Now he's being fired.
2 terrible closeout, blowout games is the only thing I can think of. Last year, they got humiliated by Dallas. And then this year, I think it was 30 points at halftime.
Well, the Bill Russell rookie card went for $660,000. They haven't, I haven't read who purchased that yet, but me and Jim talked before the show, and he is the one that bought the card.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Jim's own rookie card.
Put it in the background, Jim. Trophies.
Jim's.
What had happened was I had an itch and I put my.
Is that what it was?
I got a new card.
Awesome,
Jim,
man.
Jack just said he bought your rookie card for $6.
Really? He did? I would have gave it to him
and that was a card in mint condition. I could have got it. That was his mint condition card.
Oh, okay.
Is it authenticated too? That's all I want to know. So anyway, Robert, the best dressed guy on Northeast Streaming Sports. Thanks for coming in again, as you always do on every Sunday. Say happy Mother's Day to your mom, or
got it, guys. Yeah,
daughter.
happy Mother's Day to the wives and the daughters and everything. And,
yeah, definitely. So Robert Butler from Sports Skope, folks, check him out everywhere on the internet. Facebook, his own page, Instagram, all over the place. Robert, have a good
show, guys.
Good Sunday.
Take care.
So there you go, folks. Robert Butler, who joins us every Sunday. I always have fun with Robert. So, folks, we're going to try and take a production break right now. Hopefully the board is back to normal again. So we'll be right back after these promotions.
If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing on the Gloved Fist podcast with top boxing writers Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch. Frank, a former amateur boxer out of Philadelphia, writes for NY Fights and can be seen on the Boxing Channel. Jack, an amateur boxer who competed in the New York Golden Gloves, was a 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association. And now, here's Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch. He was a giant, and he was a cowboy. Now these two former rivals have joined forces to bring you the most insightful, perceptive, and controversial sports talk podcast in America. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Jim Jeffcoat locks horns with former New York Giants wide receiver Byron Williams. And now, here's Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat. It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
See right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any...
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac, Jack, and Jim This Week in Sports, as we bring you the biggest stories of this week in sports. Almost big football show. I can't wait to get back to that again. I love doing the big football show, but this is definitely second best during the week for me. I think Jack loves the show and Jim too. So we love doing this show for you. Love all the views and comments. Of course, Robert Butler was just on. Keith Engle was just on, giving us a little Patriots news, Yanks news, and Knicks news, and Robert with the biggest stories. I want to get a little bit to the news for the Cop. We haven't got Jim's opinion on the schedules of the East. Of course, the AFC East is playing the NFC East. Probably the first time. I think they do it every 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, Jim, is when they match up against each other.
Yes, that is true.
The Dallas Cowboys are supposed to have the third hardest, along with the Giants, and I think the Patriots and Dolphins. The Eagles have the toughest. So let's start with the Cowboys, and I want to before we get to the schedule, Jim. A lot of talk about Micah Parsons being moved to defensive end full time over there. The defensive head coach Quinn said he's not going to be a full time defensive end.
No, I don't think he has the size to be a full time. He'll do it. He'll be an off the ball defensive end, a stand up type, and he'll be in the coverage like he was last year. They'll use him similar to what they did last year. But what was interesting is he's working out in Austin, and he's running faster than running backs and wide receivers. They have clips of him beating them. So He is. And I thank Jack for suggesting that we draft him. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, he's very important in that pick. Troy Aikman kind of praises Dak. He says that he loves, the Super Bowl standards. It sets him apart. He works for them Super Bowl standards towards them. Unlike some of the people before him. I don't know if he was talking about Tony Romo or what.
I think he was. I think Matt is more in tune and understands the legacy of the Dallas Cowboys. And to get into that legacy, you have to win Super Bowls. And I really believe Dak has got a chance this year, and more than any other year. I'm not a big McCartney fan, but I think he's set up. If they can get somebody to take the running game, they got a chance to be competitive and go farther than they did last year.
Dak Prescott didn't have a good season last year. I mean,
at the end with the interception, but it was also the injuries in the receiving core. He only had really one receiver in CeeDee Lamb. The other ones didn't show up.
It didn't help him with Ezekiel Elliott's decline.
That is true.
The running game.
Yeah.
And that's what did McCartney say after the season? We got to be better running the ball. So it's an emphasis.
Jim, I think they say the quarterback's best friend is the tight end. And you guys really haven't had a good tight end since Witten there, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we just got Waller with the Giants. The Patriots haven't had a good tight end in years. The Jets, I don't even remember the Jets really having a great tight end, unless I'm mistaken, Jack.
No. And we had best was about Anthony Beck.
But here's the thing, and I agree with you. But did you hear what Kelsey said? The two young tight ends, he thought both of them were going to be pretty good, and I agree with him. I went to a practice, and I was more impressed with the two young tight ends than I was with Schultz. I never thought he was. I thought he was just a guy.
Yeah. And didn't he make the All-Pro team or something? I forget. He had a pretty good year last year or something.
No, he didn't make the All-Pro.
No, Schultz had a problem with drops, as I recall.
And in practice, you can see why. It was like he didn't even care. He didn't even go chase the ball when he dropped it.
Really?
The other guys were competing. Well, and then you got the kid from Michigan, and they said that he will be, he can block. He won't be a down the field, stretch your off a defense type of tight end, but he'll catch some and he'll make some plays.
Okay, but the Cowboys have lost their favorite status. When you look at the amount of teams that are favored to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC, I mean, of course, we start with the Eagles, then we talk about the 49ers. Somehow the Cowboys, they kind of slid down the list where.
Yeah, and then that's good in ways. And you say why? Is because when they get to that point, nobody's going to expect it. Like I said, it's going to be determined on how they stop the run and how they run the ball. Yeah. Because that's going to shorten games. And they're good enough defense.
But I'm going to tell you what surprised me. Jerry Jones, you would think would make a big splash in the offseason. There'd be an urgency to get to the Super Bowl, would pull the trigger on a big deal like he did years ago signing Deion Sanders against the organization's wishes even. But he didn't do it. It's as if they're.
I think over the years he's got burnt, especially on offensive players. And that's what scared him off to doing that. Because you look at some of the offensive players, Joey Galloway, Roy Williams, and things like that. So he's looking at, wait a minute, I'm going to get guys that fit within our system. And they're going to build, and that's what he built it, or guys that were within the system.
Yeah. Okay, Jim, let's get to your thoughts on the schedule. We've had everybody else talk about it. As I said, you're tied with us, the Patriots, and I think the Dolphins with the third hardest schedule. Yeah. And the Eagles somehow got the easiest schedule. So what are your thoughts on the schedule this year?
Eagles have the toughest schedule, if I'm correct.
That's what they're saying, but I looked at some of their games, and it didn't look that hard to me.
I like the Cowboys schedule because that is going to show us where they're at. But what I like about it is that prepares them for that second half of the season. They get their bye week in week 7. And by then, they're going to be in a good situation because they'll start finding out where, as long as they stay healthy, they got it. This is probably the best chance they've had in years. I wouldn't be surprised if they get to the Super Bowl because I like what their schedule has helped them with. They start off with a tough one in New York, but I'd rather play the Giants are going to be tough in New York, and then the Jets. But I'd rather play the Jets in Dallas and then early in the season because the Jets are going to be a team that gets better as the season progresses. And then they got to go, there's Arizona. I'm not worried about Arizona. So I think either they're going to be 5-1 or 4-2 in those first 6 games.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in this strength of schedule talk because we don't know where a team's going to be late in the season. The team we think is going to be a good team late in the season could be hurting.
That is true.
Starting a rebuild, and it could go vice versa. Like Jim mentioned before, the Carolina Panthers, they actually have a very good defense, okay? And they have some upside to them. A team like the Chicago Bears is gently on the rise too. I mean, that's not an automatic win. I mean, you mentioned a couple of teams. If I see Arizona on my schedule, I'm smiling. Tampa Bay, they even won the division last year. So who knows how they're going to be for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I understand what you're saying, but the Cowboys' first 6 games in New York, that's a chance, a possibility. New York hasn't beat them in 4 games. So that's a possibility. And the Jets, we know Aaron Rodgers is there, but there's also, you got to get that timing down. And that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah.
And you play them in Dallas.
Better to play them early, like you said.
Yeah. Arizona, I'd rather play Arizona because you never know how Kyler Murray is going to react to the knee injury. New England is not the New England of the past, and we all know that. San Francisco, that's going to be a difficult game in San Francisco, but they have some transition going on with the quarterback situation. They got a lot of skilled players, but who's going to be it? Sam Darnold? Is Purdy going to be?
By the end of the season, Sam Darnold's not only going to be the quarterback, but people are going to be saying, oh, the Jets shouldn't have gotten rid of him. He's going to have a good year. And I don't want to hear any of that talk. The Jets made the right decision moving on from Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold couldn't hold on to the starting quarterback position for the Carolina Panthers. They moved on from him too. Yeah. They gave up a 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th round draft choice to get Sam Darnold. That's some serious capital, and that didn't work out. But I think he's going to be starting ahead of Brock Purdy by the end of the year.
If Purdy's not healthy.
I think if Purdy's healthy, he's going to be starting ahead of him. How's that?
I don't think so. Because Purdy's a manager. He manages all that talent. And then you got the Los Angeles Chargers. And then you got to buy. So I feel good about it. And I feel good after that, too, because if you notice, you haven't played Philadelphia yet. You don't play Philadelphia until the 9th week. And that's at Philly, which is always going to be difficult. But you're going to be in a good situation. You play the Los Angeles Rams. And I've never been a big Stafford fan. And I just don't think they have the offensive firepower they've had in the previous years.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the Giants beat Dallas at home the first game. I think
of course you do.
I think Dallas definitely wins in Dallas. That's going to be hot. I mean, that's going to be a hot place to play. That's going to be a great game.
But
I think they can beat Dallas at home. I don't think they can beat them in Dallas.
Project so far ahead. I know they do that on all the talk shows, and you do it too, Mac, because they do it all over the place. So why not? They go over the schedule and they decide who's going to win this week. Like, who's going to win week 13? Who knows at this point?
There's no doubt.
I'm going to tell you something that why I think the Cowboys are going to be better is because your number one receiver is obviously CeeDee Lamb. We all know that, correct?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Brandon Cooks might be the number one receiver.
Brandon Cooks 2 years ago had 90 receptions at Houston. But here's the thing. Right now, he's our number 2 receiver. So who becomes your number 3? If he is healthy as Michael Gallup, and that is a good number 3 receiver.
He's healthy.
Well, he wasn't healthy last year. We got to see if he's truly healthy. So you got 3 receivers that can make plays. And that's that helps you with the matchups.
Yeah, I think Dallas has got to run the ball more. I'm not even talking about the receiver.
Ronald Jones, great.
But that will help Dak Prescott because now he's got it. I didn't like Noah Brown as the number 3 receiver.
Yeah.
Now you got a one that can make plays as the number 3. The running game, they're talking about obviously Powell won't be healthy for the Pollard, but you got Ronald Jones, who Jack likes.
Yeah,
and
I love
they have a young back that they're excited about. And they think that Vaughn is going to make I don't know, Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. He was a heck of a college player, but he's making a big step up in the NFL.
Well, as Jack said, I've said too, it's your team. You're excited. You really think they're going to do good, but we really don't know. I mean, who knows? You know, the Jets may finish 7-10 next year. Who knows?
You know, Dallas was 12-5 the last 2 years. They've had a good team. They won a playoff game last year, and people are making it out like, you know, how much better can they get? If they get better, they're going to the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm trying to say. They'll get better. They have to get better, or McCartney's gone. I'm just telling you.
Well, I get the feeling that Joneses let McCarthy know that, not in those words. McCarthy wants to run the offense. He's probably arguing, let me run the offense. Let me run it.
I agree 100%.
This is your show now. If it doesn't work, this is all on you now.
Exactly.
If the offense isn't effective this year, I can't see McCarthy surviving.
I agree 100%. This is McCartney's, either it's his swan song or he's going to get a new contract because he's only got 1 year left.
Well, let's do some Jets news. This is according to NBC. Aaron Rodgers is still working on the new contract. Rodgers had a salary of $1.16 million guaranteed, but a $58 million fully guaranteed option bonus pushed to 2024. It says that the Jets were unaware of these details. The next year, Rodgers has $107.55 million in compensation due to him. And Rodgers, for that commitment, that's an incredible amount of money.
I didn't know that. Send them back to Green Bay. I didn't know that. That's going to ruin the whole team. If that affects Cap,
the only thing I know is the last quarterback they got from Green Bay, he didn't fare very well in New York.
Yeah, he got hurt.
$107 million they're going to owe him if that has cap implications.
They will. The Jets were unaware of this. So the Jets.
How could they be unaware of it? How could they be unaware of
Green Bay didn't tell him. Green Bay didn't tell him, Jack, till he got.
They said, "Oh, by the way."
Yes. Green Bay didn't. Wait. Time out. Right. If Green Bay intentionally withheld information, Green Bay at the very least should be docked their number 1 draft choice. You go to the Jets. That's basically criminal. If they didn't
almost right.
That's a lot of money, Jack.
So what they think Rodgers are going to end up doing, Rodgers is going to make it a 2-year commitment, right? Where they're going to not owe him $107 million, but 53 point whatever million over the 2 years. So that's what they're going to try and do with Rodgers, so that he gets his money and it's not
a 10-year commitment. Stretch it out. I mean, Rodgers still makes out like a bandit.
He does.
Jack. With that contract, you might have to come out in retirement. You're the only one they can afford.
But you made me think like a second ago when Mac was mentioning schedule, and we're talking Aaron Rodgers. You look at the Jets on your schedule. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, gets injured, you have Zach Wilson. It changes the whole perception.
That is true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Zach Wilson may be wanting that Rodgers money if Rodgers gets hurt. So New York Giants news, of course, is still Saquon Barkley. He rejects a 3-year contract at $14.1 million a year. It's really $13 million with $1 million in additional incentives, and he's still asking for $16 million a year. So, I don't know, guys.
What's guaranteed? What's guaranteed in the contract?
The $13 million and the $1 million in additional incentives would be guaranteed.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Didn't they offer him 15.1 at one time?
They did. That's in
And
here
he
too.
turned it down.
Yes.
This is crazy.
How much is guaranteed, Jim? If they're only guaranteeing him $5 million a year, hypothetically, I'm just making up a number. Then I don't blame him for not signing. We see the numbers and we say, "Oh, how can he not take it?" But if it's not guaranteed beyond this season, I mean,
I understand what you're saying, but even Lamar Jackson, and I know, what did he get? 160 million guaranteed?
more like 180, close to that.
180.
Yeah.
The only ones who are getting those large guarantees are quarterbacks.
Well, Lamar Jackson finally came to the table because he saw the deal that Jalen Hurts signed, and he realized the owners, to their credit in a sense, aren't going up to Deshaun Watson category. They're not being influenced by that signing. I'm not saying how much owners should give out. I want players to make as much as they can. But the owner's logic is, you didn't set a new bar for us with the Deshaun Watson situation.
But here's the situation, too, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Saquon Barkley is in the same boat as Ezekiel Elliott. A lot of these running backs start tailing off on that second contract because of the position. And I think that's what they're worried about. They're going to be on the hook for a lot of money, just like the Cowboys were with Zeke Elliott. And they're going to have to make decisions.
Quan Barkley, I'm guessing he's about 25 years old, thereabouts, I'd say. And you guys, play sports, Jim, obviously on the highest possible level in the NFL. When you're 28, 29, you still have that bounce to yourself.
I agree, but running backs are different. Running backs are totally different. There are not very many, running backs that play extended. I played 15 years, but you very seldom see running backs play for an extended period of time.
Not as a primary runner, no
exactly,
way.
Because and that's value in the pit. I mean, in the
I think though, Jim, I think Saquon, because of the injuries, I think if he's full health again, he's still got a lot of tread on those tires. So I think he's good for another 2 years, maybe 3.
But he wants what? How long does he want the length of the contract?
He wants a 3-year. They want to give him a 3-year contract. 3 years.
Yeah.
So what, it'll be 28. So I still think that's I think that listen, they're going to put him on a franchise tag. That's what's going to end up happening, and they're going to pay him, whatever it is, $10 million a year.
But he's going to come in late. He might not even be there.
But if he wants his next contract to be if he really wants a lucrative contract next time out, he's got to have a big year. They have him over barrel. He's got to perform big time. If he has him over season, he's not going to get his money next year.
This happened with Emmitt Smith, if you remember, way back then. We lost 2 games, the first 2 games, without Emmitt Smith. And when he came back, we won, I think, 7 or 8. Saquon Barkley was the New York Giants. And I like Daniel Jones, but Saquon Barkley is the most, how would I put it?
Valuable player.
The most valuable player, and we all know that. And if Saquon Barkley is there, it changes the whole offense for the New York Giants.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens with Saquon. Like I said, he's still working out. I mean, he's not going to stop working out because, he's not on the Giants, working out with the Giants. He'll still keep working out.
But if he walks in the first week, and say, okay, I'm ending my holdout, that's still difficult. That's still difficult. He already knows the offense.
It's not his personality to cause dissension, but you kind of wonder what this does to his pride. Like you just mentioned, Jim, you walk in, you feel a little defeated by the team, that you went against them and they beat you. They kind of have the upper hand on you. And it takes maybe a tiny edge off your enthusiasm. Maybe you're thinking in terms, you still want to win, obviously. I'm just taking care of my stats, and I don't care about the organization as much.
And I agree with you. He gives his heart to that organization.
Yeah.
If you like football, you enjoy watching Saquon play. But he, in the back of his mind, is saying, hey, I love this organization, but they don't truly love me. It's a business decision. And that's the thing you got to look at. It is a business decision. Instead, if I go out there and I blow out my knee, then that's the end for me because they'll get rid of me. So I better protect myself. And that's probably what I'm thinking because and he said running backs maybe last 8 years. And you're right. If it's a 3-year contract, Matt, but $16 million is a lot for a running back.
I think so too.
Not guaranteed once again.
Well, we don't know, right?
Not guaranteed. True. I don't care what the darn number is.
That's true. That's true. That is true. Back to the Major League Baseball. The Mets do beat the Nationals on tour. Goes 1 for 5 and 3 RBIs. And a lot of fans are starting. I'm reading the pages of the Mets clubs, Facebook pages there, and they're agreeing with Jack. What the heck did we spend $130 million on Lindor? And they're all coming around now, Jack. They're seeing it your way.
No. Lindor signed a 10-year deal, Francisco Lindor. You were for it, Mac. I was against it. It remains to be seen whether that's a good deal. If the Mets can win one world championship and Lindor is a major part of it, then perhaps the deal is worth it, the 10-year deal. You're vindicated no matter what else happens. 10 years is such a long time. People are talking about it so loose. You know what a 10-year deal has an effect? If you have an absolute star player, he's 25 years old. I'm talking about baseball now. It takes him to age 35. People forget the Yankees signed Derek Jeter at age 25 to a 10-year deal. I'm all for that. Anthony Volpe's 21 years old now, the Yankees shortstop. He's the real thing. I would sign him to a team-friendly 15-year deal. You heard me, to age 36, because he'll have him his whole career, and he has guaranteed money, and you're not overpaying, and he's never going to leave as a free agent.
I'm going to ask you this question, Jack. Isn't Ohtani 27?
Yeah, I think Ohtani is 28 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If you can look that up.
If you have the opportunity to get Ohtani, with your theory, you wouldn't take him.
No, Ohtani, no. You want to know if there's a difference involved, a big difference. Ohtani's like Aaron Judge, but maybe more so. He's a legacy player, the marketability off the field. I wouldn't do it strictly for the field, but Ohtani consider this as two players in one.
I agree.
So if you want to look at it, I'm paying for two players, and if I'm saying I'm paying Ohtani $60 million a year, someone will say, "Are you out of your mind?" And they'll curse you out. How can you do that? But if Ohtani as a pitcher alone, I could say is worth close to $40 million on the market. And you pay him the rest as a position player when he's not playing. You could actually justify that.
Mm-hmm. If I was him, I'd go to L.A. Obviously, the Angels is a good place. But if he wants to leave the Angels, I would go to New York in a Jack minute.
He wants.
I know he's not, but
Steve Cohen, the Met owner, he's going to outbid everyone. And you're talking
that's
about
what I'm saying.
$600 million deal for Ohtani.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think they're the only ones that could do it. The Dodgers.
He's not going to the Mets. He's not.
I know, but I'm just saying, if I was him and looked at it from a financial standpoint,
he's going to either play in one of the West Coast teams. He's either going to end up playing for the Dodgers, the Giants, or the Padres. One of those three teams he's going to play for.
But I wonder this, Mac. Ohtani had the chance when he came to the majors to sign with the Yankees. He didn't want to. He went to the Angels. He didn't want to play in New York. But as a player, when you start visiting a city, your perception could change. I mean, a lot of players like Jim football, they're coming out of college. They don't want to play for certain teams and organizations. But all of a sudden, you visit that city as a player, and you say, that's not all that bad. I wouldn't mind playing here. That could be.
Yeah, but he's never mentioned about playing on the East Coast, though, and what Mac is pointing to.
I mean, he did say he enjoyed playing against the Yankees, but that's against the Yankees, not the Yankees, So I think he stays in the West Coast. Hopefully, he stays with the Angels. I would love, I really would love to see him stay with the Angels. I really would, because I think that with him there and Trout, they get a couple more players. They could go to the World Series.
Yeah, I would agree.
Jim's team, the Texas Rangers, they signed.
My team is the Yankees.
Oh, you're not a Texas Ranger fan?
I like the Rangers, but I'm a Yankees. I've been
okay, good. We're on the same page with something. But Jacob deGrom is a Texas Ranger. He's kind of had injury issues.
Yeah, he's on the DL right now.
Right, $37 million a year for 5 years. They sum $185 million for 5 years, a bit risky. Now you're taking a chance on a guy like that with the contract, but if he's healthy, he's worth it.
But here's the thing, and I agree with everything you said. But here's the thing: is their schedule is set up that they're successful. Mac mentioned earlier in the show about teams that are Tampa Bay are playing teams that are not very good. The Rangers, but when they played teams that were very good, they won the series. They've only lost one series this year, and that was against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's the only series they've lost. But this week, they play the Braves, and they play them in Texas. We'll find out a lot about them this week.
Right. We will. And just to note, this is from the This Week in Sports, Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat mailbag. You didn't know we had a mailbag, did you guys?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we do have a mailbag, and it's a question. I'm not sure. The guy can't read his name. It's
a question.
And he says, Jim, Mac, you say Jim Jeffcoat is a closet Giants fan, that he grew up in Jersey. Wait a minute. He grew up in Jersey watching the Giants, but, of course, by playing with the Cowboys, he's now a Cowboys fan. Would Jim Jeffcoat have loved to have signed as a rookie with the New York Giants? So that's a question.
That is a good question. No.
Wait a second. Wouldn't Jim, if he was on the Giants coming up, wouldn't he have been with LT, Harry Carson, all those guys?
Yes.
But you know what? Honestly, the reason why is because of the style of offense they played. Dallas was a lot better for me because Dallas was a four-man front, as opposed to I would have been basically in a defensive tackle within the Giants scheme, because LT was the outside linebacker, defensive end. Leonard Marshall was basically what we call a three technique. He was a tackle.
Right.
And even on the other side, George Martin, they played a little different style.
Right.
And this was more, it was better. I didn't have any choice on it because that my year they picked Terry Kennard, who was an excellent player.
Yeah.
Safety.
Good defensive back.
I did like the Giants growing up. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up 35 minutes from the stadium.
Right.
And, it was either the Giants or the Jets, and obviously the Giants, not the Jets.
I'm going to tell you, sometimes I think what's better for a player, everyone wants to win, and Jim has 2 Super Bowls to his credit, but imagine you'd went to the Detroit Lions, for example. They would have had a terrible team, but you could have maybe been a Detroit Lion legend. You wouldn't have gotten swallowed up in all the greatness of the Cowboy players. The Cowboys had so many great players.
You to a certain extent.
Became basically just another one of their outstanding players. But if you were with the Lions, you would have been center stage as the leading man, basically, on defense.
But here's the thing, Jack, is in our era, and I'm talking about all of us, championships were more important. I mean, you'll get the opportunity. I got nominated to the Pro Football Hall of Fame before, but I have championships. That's going to last forever. You talk to players that played the game, all they talk about is when they won those Super Bowls and had the opportunity to play on the biggest stage. And I know what you're saying, but Detroit's never won a Super Bowl.
But I went over this once before, and you felt it was better just to win. Marlon Briscoe, black quarterback for the Denver Broncos, going from the AFL. Good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but a solid quarterback. He was his era's Doug Williams, you could say. He'd run a lot. He was called a magician. He was like a Fran Tarkenton type, I should say. Mm-hmm. and he wasn't allowed to continue as quarterback. Yeah, he was black. That was what was going on at the era. So he joins the Miami Dolphins as a wide receiver, and he's on their 2 Super Bowl winners, their unbeaten team, but not as a star, as a backup, but he is on the team. What's better for his legacy, being on losing teams, but establishing himself as a pioneer, more or less, or how he wound up on the Dolphins?
Let me ask you this question, and you make great points, but think about Reggie White. Reggie White was probably one of the all-time greatest players on defensive line. He played at Philadelphia, and I know that he got into the contract difficulties with Philadelphia, but he wins the Green Bay, and he wins a championship.
Yeah.
And you'd ask him, and I know he's passed, but that's important for players to get the opportunity. Those championships are a once in a lifetime. Yeah. I played 10 years in the NFL and didn't win a championship. In that 10th year, I won that first one, and that's an unbelievable feeling. And maybe every player doesn't feel that way because it max out, obviously, money.
LaDainian Tomlinson, when he retired, okay, he's probably maybe talking out of pride. He says, no, he got the important thing. He's in the Hall of Fame. It's not nearly as important.
He didn't win a Super Bowl.
He never went to a Super Bowl, okay? And you kind of wonder, but there has to be something missing and aching, like a Dan Marino, who seems to be a pretty good guy from what I hear, an all-time great quarterback, but he's not quite rated, at the very top, because that's missing from his resume.
Well, Sue, can you imagine going to 4 Super Bowls and not winning one? I mean,
Jim Kelly. And I thought Jim Kelly playing with him was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the
no one rates Terry Bradshaw is one of the greatest, and he has 4 Super Bowl wins, maybe because he had so many great players around him. If you ask me who I'd pick, Jim Kelly or Terry Bradshaw, it's very close. I might give an edge to Jim Kelly, who lost.
Jim Kelly was unbelievable. Jim Kelly, he called his plays, and then he took over games. I had never seen anything like it. And playing in Buffalo in that weather, he was unbelievable. But you're right. And, they did a documentary on 4 seasons of Buffalo.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great player, but there's always that asterisk.
Yeah.
Marino went early, but then he never went again.
Yeah.
And he had tremendous teams.
I could tell you this. I mean, Jim Kelly was your teammates. You're not going to say someone was better than him or want to do that comparison, which you shouldn't, which is fine. But I'll say unhesitatingly, as much as I like Jim Kelly, Dan Marino was better.
I would agree.
Okay.
Marino was just
unbelievable. Yeah,
he was a great player individually.
But that happens when you have a great quarterback like a Marino. You forget about the running game, and you got this one big star that can do so many things, and you don't support him in other ways. You get him a couple decent wide receivers, and Clayton and Duper weren't the greatest. They were good, but they weren't the greatest. So, I blame that a lot on the Dolphins themselves, the team, the owner, the manager at that time, when you don't support a quarterback that should go to the Super Bowl. He deserved to go.
Where it is, Jim Kelly had Thurman Thomas, a Hall of Famer, James Lofton, Hall of Famer, and Andre Reed, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. 2 quick questions. Jim, first, are you in the Ring of Honor yet?
No.
See, now, if you were a Giant player, you would already have been in the Ring of Honor.
Well, in fairness to the Cowboys, Matt, can I just say one thing? Sure. They put very few guys in their Ring of Honor compared to other teams.
Jim Jeffcoat.
Jim belongs in it. Jim Jeffcoat belongs in their Ring of Honor. With that said, Jim absolutely belongs in their Ring of Honor.
But I am one of the top 60 players all time for the Cowboys. They did.
That's an incredible list. Go ahead.
But here's the thing is, it's going to be interesting with DeMarcus Ware. He's having Jerry Jones introduce him. But if you look at the Super Bowl, because if you remember, Everson Walls 2 years ago was up to be nominated to the Hall of Fame. And Everson Walls is not in the Ring of Honor either.
Yeah.
He normally does not put players that haven't won a Super Bowl. Every player that's up there has won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. So this is going to be interesting. Jimmy Johnson should be the first one in there.
Wait a second. Don Meredith, is he in their Ring of Honor?
I think he is.
But he won
a Super Bowl. No, he didn't.
No, but he was there when they won a Super Bowl. Dandy Don.
No, he wasn't on the team.
I think he was, Jack.
No.
Okay.
I think
He
Jack's
wasn't on
right.
the team at the time.
He went to the but he played in a couple championship games.
No,
Yeah.
well, to the NFC Championship
Right,
game, he never
right.
played.
Yeah.
But they lost to
And he
Bob
might be
Hayes.
the only one. He might be the only one, Jack. Because
What about Bob Hayes? I
Yes.
don't think he was.
Yes,
I
Bob
don't think
Hayes
he
did.
won this Super Bowl.
I think he
Maybe I'm
was.
wrong there, but
I think Bob Hayes was.
Greg Morton, is he there? Do you know?
No. But he's right. Jack is right. There are very few in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I think Tex Schramm, from what I read, told Jerry Jones, you have to keep the list short so it has more value. And I can understand that through the sport of boxing. I see regional Hall of Fames from different states. Too many names are going in, and after a while, it's not who's in the Hall of Fame, it's who's not.
That's
So it
true.
gets to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, the Cowboys treat me like I'm in the Ring of Honor. I mean, I guess
That's the
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah.
they take. I mean, I have carte blanche when I go to the stadium, and so that's all you can ever ask for.
The Joneses are nice to you, in
Yes.
other words.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
I helped to make all that money for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Jones is not nice enough to go on this show, J&B Talking Chop, so he's not.
No.
Let's get a little. It doesn't look like the Philly sports guys coming in. Let's get a little Philly news. 76ers versus Boston today. What do you guys expect? What are you looking for?
Ooh. Go ahead, Jack. I got to go.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to regret it later on, saying how stupid I could be. I'm picking the Sixers to go into Boston and win.
Wow.
I think Joel Embiid is going to have the game of his life. James Harden can be on a given day, like he showed in a couple of other games, the James Harden of old. Maxie, something about it bothers me, the combination of Tatum and Brown in the big game. Like this, Tatum will have a good game. I don't fully trust Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, me either.
Marcus Smart. The Celtic chemistry has been a little off. I just have a feeling the Sixers are just going to, go in there and play a great game and upend them in Boston. I know it's hard to win 3 games on the road and all that, but I just think somehow they're going to win the game today.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Now, I've been a 76er fan since Dr. J. When the Nets traded Dr. J to 76ers, I became a 76ers fan. Everything you say is right, but I just think that it's going to be difficult for the 76ers to win in Boston because you're dealing with something different in Boston with that. That's true legacy.
But for one game, who is the best player on the court today? Joel Embiid.
Joe Embiid. There's no question
Really?
about it. But
And
they can take him out of the game. It's Harden's going to have to, Max is going to have to show up. Tobin is going to have to show up. Harris. I mean,
yeah, I think Maxey has been showing up in this series.
Yeah, and he might be the most gifted for speed-wise of any player on there. He's a jet. He is fast, but I just think Boston's depth is going to get him at the end. I think Boston is a deeper team. Don't you, Matt?
Yeah. I think Boston wins at the end of the game, and when the 76ers are a little tired because they really don't have the bench that Boston has. As Pags has said quite a bit on the show.
Doc Rivers has something like an 0-8 record in these elimination games, like a terrible record. And I kind of wonder if the Sixers lose a close game and some people question his coaching in this game. Is he on? Is he off? I mean, is he going to get fired or not? I mean, the GM reportedly likes him a lot, Daryl Morey. They work well together. Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to fire someone, but public pressure does get to you. It really does. I mean, if someone can turn a deaf ear to public pressure, then they won't act. But that's nearly impossible in this day and age. Wherever you go, you hear, get rid of Doc, get rid of Doc, get rid of Doc. And then he's not winning. What are you to do?
So if no matter who wins, Celtics or Boston, they play Miami, does Miami have a shot at going to the NBA Finals?
Never doubt Miami. Pat Riley and Spoelstra might be the best group together, those two. And the reason I say that is look at what Miami's playing with. And obviously Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. But look at what surrounds them and how they play. They play at a different level. Defensively, nobody's figured them out. And Jimmy Butler, for playoff Jimmy, I mean, he loves the big stage. And Bam Adebayo is not a bad player.
Adebayo was the main guy against the Knicks in that last game.
So I would never count him up. I think that Boston and Philadelphia are more talented, but Miami plays at a different pace. They are a hard-playing team.
Well, there's a storyline if Miami does play the 76ers. Jimmy Butler's obviously going to want to win badly so he could go to the finals and finally maybe win an NBA championship. But he'd be going against his old team that picked Ben Simmons over him. They decided to move on from Jimmy Butler and stay with Ben Simmons. And as a player, I think you're thinking of that, and that motivates you, that you're telling yourself there's no way they're beating me after what they did.
Yeah, but that was the storyline. Thibodeau loved Jimmy Butler when they were in Minnesota.
And Chicago. He had them both. But Butler liked Thibodeau too, so there was no feeling I want to get back at Thibodeau. He liked his old coach.
Yeah. So in the Phillies, Harper Reed's turning to MVP form. If you watched the game yesterday, so that's good news for the Phillies. The quarterback Jalen Hurts earns his master's degree from Oklahoma, so good for him going back.
Oh, Todd Bowles too, the coach of the Buccaneers. He went back.
Yes, he did.
When did they go back? Wait 1 second. This is what I can't figure out. Okay, they must have did this online. I can't imagine. Todd Bowles is so busy as the coach. Can you imagine him attending the classroom, just sitting there class after class? That would be pretty cool, Todd. You're a Buccaneer fan and you're sitting next to Todd Bowles for all the classes.
Yeah. He didn't go. He probably did it online because when I was a player and I got my degree, Jack, I had to go to the courses. I had to go to Arizona State to get my degree, but it's not like that. My daughter, like I said, just finished her master's, and she didn't go in class. She did all of it online. So that's how they do it today.
So then
what I would have loved, Matt?
She could have cheated then, Jim. She could have cheated. She could have went to other sites to get the answers. Then is that what you're saying?
I would have loved this with Todd Bowles. Can you imagine these coaches fine players for showing up 5 minutes early? Imagine he had to go to the classroom and he rushes there to just get there in time, and the professor puts him down, like as a negative. 5 minutes, you're late.
Ricky Jackson did it too.
Is late.
Yeah.
Ricky Jackson just graduated from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, the biggest news, you guys, I don't know if you guys heard this, the biggest news in the Eagles is that Taylor Swift confirmed she's an Eagle fan because her Eagles shirt hanging on the door. So that's the biggest story right now in Philadelphia. If you look,
I never liked her songs anyway.
I didn't either.
You're kidding! My daughters are going to Taylor Swift concert. They made like such a big thing with Taylor Swift. I mean, in fact, like today, my daughter worked out a deal. She's going to travel with me in the car instead of going 2 cars. We're going somewhere because I have to have on the Taylor Swift music.
Oh my
That's
goodness!
the deal.
Are you going to put it on, Jack?
My wife actually signed off on that.
If the Titans ever win a Super Bowl, Swift will become a Titans fan.
She's a bandwagon jumper.
Yeah, she's an Eagle fan. Okay, Pax will be happy with that.
a little more seriously, Jalen Carter named in the $40 million lawsuit by the father of the Georgia teammate who died in a fatal crash. $10 million he wants to get from Jalen Carter. Carter did sign a $21.8 million deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, all guaranteed. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I feel bad for the kid that got injured or killed, rather. And, I guess Jalen Carter has to take some of that responsibility.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and Henry Ruggs of the Raiders, he pleaded guilty, waiting sentencing. He was traveling Ruggs 156 miles per hour. Yeah. And afterwards, Nick Saban is critical of others. Someone should have taken the key away from him going on and on his old coach at Alabama. And Saban's 100% correct. If someone could have taken the keys away, if they knew, if he was impaired and all that, but the responsibility has to fall with the person themselves. Ultimately, they get behind the wheel, and I don't want to hear that person. You're not condoning what they're doing, obviously, but their name not being mentioned. Why didn't Saban mention his old player? Saying, he was being irresponsible, but he doesn't say that. He says someone should have taken the keys away. I hate that type of grandstanding that you get from a Nick Saban.
Does Jalen Carter end up going to jail?
No,
it's a civil.
It's a civil suit. But I agree with you. He has to take some responsibility for it. What I blame, too, is the system. Because they did stop him and they did interrogate him. And they let him go. And that's wrong. Because he said he had nothing. But now we find out he was racing.
Yeah.
And I agree. There is some responsibility at that. And we'll see it probably go within the father in the civil suit. He'll win that civil suit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jim, any other sports thing that you saw this weekend that you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Stars and the Kraken.
Oh, yeah. The Stars and the Kraken.
Yeah, NHL. It goes to the seventh game.
Right.
It comes back to Dallas. It's going to be a big game in Dallas.
How big is hockey out there right now?
It's big.
Really?
It's big. You wouldn't think it would be, but it's big. People love the Stars. And if they can win this will be really big.
Yeah.
Krakens are new to it. They haven't been in it a lot, but obviously they're playing well. And it's never close. It's always kind of one team takes advantage of it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Tied 3-3 right now.
There was a championship game last night that we're not talking about.
Oh, the XFL.
XFL.
I don't get.
You can talk about
XFL. I didn't follow the XFL throughout the year. I watched some of it. I'd be turning the channel and I would watch, 10, 15 minutes at a time and get back to doing something else. I'll be honest about it. So I'm not qualified to really say that much about the XFL, but you had this team, Arlington, who had a 4-6 record during the regular season against playing the DC whatever, who had a 9-1 record. And in the championship game, now I can understand a team with a losing record sometimes can get to the championship game. It happened in the NFL. They didn't get there, but you had the Seattle Seahawks at 7-9 in the playoffs. You had Washington in the NFC East a couple of years ago, 7-9. Get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 8-9 last year. They make the playoffs. I can understand, but you only have to win one game to get to the championship game. So a team with a 4-6 record shouldn't only have to win one game and not in the championship game, and they win it. Yeah. So that the XFL champions had a total record of 6-6, right? To include the playoffs. Something is a little off there.
It is, and I agree. I like what you said before the show, is that players are getting opportunities.
Yeah.
They can get looked at, but I don't know. I wasn't that excited. I never watched it. USFL was going on too. I think these leagues they're hurting because people are waiting for the NFL. All we talk about is NFL. We don't talk. And we hope some of those players make it.
Yeah.
But if you're a player, you're not in the NFL. Isn't it a thrill? You're playing on ABC, prime time in a big stadium. in a game labeled for championship. But you know what it reminds me of? The XFL. It's like a college player playing in the NIT tournament. You know, everyone's paying attention.
That's
to the
really
NCAA.
that's a good analogy.
Right. But you want to, I believe you get something out of it. For some of these guys on a championship team, they're going to have that the rest of their life. And that's going to be important to them.
You get something out of it if you get the opportunity to move on to the NFL.
But even if you don't, and you're part of that championship team, you could point out we played on prime time, and you probably would have wound up playing with a couple of players who did eventually go.
And I don't even know if how many people were in that stadium.
Well, I know I've watched a few highlights of games. There's hardly anybody at the stadiums.
Yeah.
Not like when you were coaching, Jim. The Renegades did beat the Defenders 35-26. Big interception at the end of the game. I saw the highlights. So, it's got to be exciting to play. Play on prime time. I guess that would be for anybody, not just.
I agree there.
Yeah.
The losing coach was Greg Williams. Could you imagine?
No, it wasn't Greg Williams. I can't remember it, but he wasn't. He was the defensive coordinator.
Oh, Williams was the defensive coordinator? He wasn't the head coach?
No, he was not the head coach.
He looked like the head coach on the sidelines, like he was the guy.
Yeah, he wasn't the head coach. The head coach for the Defenders was a former wide receiver, and he was a college coach until this year.
All right. So, folks, we're coming up to the end of the hour. Thank you for coming in. Thanks for the views, the loves, and the comments. Jim will be on Wednesday, J&B Talking Shop with Byron Williams. Jack will be on tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with Frank Luterzo, who doesn't know anything about football. So, Jack, keep him around.
Frank is my guy. Easy.
Yeah, Frank. I love Frank. I'm just kidding, of course. So, again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, daughters that are mothers, sisters that are mothers, and in general, everyone have a happy Mother's Day. Take your wife out or your mom out to dinner, and do the same thing Father's Day too. Don't make us cook on the grill. All right. Thank you, folks. Have a great Sunday. We'll see you on the Jack Show on